Hello, and welcome again to another time of me attempting to solve something. I feel like I've done this, I guess this is my third time now, and I don't think I'm getting any better. Like, I feel like every time I try to make one of these, I just feel so messy and chaotic, and like, everything seems important, especially in the first chapter. I've only read the first chapter, and it's just so much information, and I'm like, everything's important, everything means something, when it doesn't. But when you don't know anything, it does. I didn't even say what book I'm reading. I should grab the book. We're going to be doing Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. I've read some of her other books, aka I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So yeah, I'm really interested. This was recommended by a friend. She finished it and was like, you definitely need to read it. I was probably going to read it eventually at some point, but because it was so highly recommended, I am starting it now. That beginning chapter was so good. Like, there was just so much happening, and I was like, this is really good. And then I wasn't expecting, basically, the main character we're seeing the point of view for him, she gets attempted killed, and then you flip to the next page and it's like, not quite, because there's like a phone call and he's like, she's dead, and then the next page says not quite. So that's why it's called Not Quite Dead Yet. And I was like, that's so smart. Like, that's really smart. It's funny, I love it. But yeah, so much information. Oh my god, there's so many names, so many conversations this first chapter, but let's go over a quick overview of what we know so far. So it is Friday, October 31st. We meet Jet, who is walking around this like what's it called, Halloween like fair kind of event thing, where there's like booths and like scary things set up, and just walking around, and she bumps into this guy named JJ, and he's like, hey, can we talk? I need to talk about something. And she's like, no, I'm not talking to you. And we find out that they used to be dating, and it's been months since they haven't. And we later find out through someone else that he proposed and she said no. But she said that's not what happened. There's more to it. JJ's like, come on, it's not about that. It's not about us. It's about something else. But her brother, Jet's brother, Luke, shows up and it's like, get out of here, bro. She doesn't want to talk to you. So he just leaves. He caves and he's like, fine, whatever. And then we get to see Jet talk to her brother a bit, Luke. And there's like, at first they're like, haha, brother sister vibes, but then they just start like insulting each other and it gets a little bit tense. There's obviously a lot of family drama. Basically, Jet says, oh yeah, I'm dressed as a law school dropout who lives at home with her parents at 27. So that's kind of what we get to know about her. And then her brother's like, what, you still writing a screenplay, or have you moved on to something else? And she's like, yeah, I gave up on that, and now she's working on some dog walking app. And her brother's like, yep, you can't seem to finish anything, can you? And Luke, wants to take over their family business, and he's not CEO yet. He's still CFO, financial officer. He's like, oh, next year though. And Luke is with his wife, Sophia, and Sophia's carrying their baby, Cameron, who is 1 year old. Yeah, they're all dressed as stuff, like, well, no, she's not, and Luke's not dressed up because he's representing the family professionally, and then Sophia's dressed as Catwoman, and the baby's dressed as a pumpkin. There's tension between Jet and Sophia. Mostly we find out information kind of everywhere. I'm trying to like streamline it, but it's so hard. That's why I feel like I'm so bad at these videos. But find out that Jet and Sophia used to be really close best friends, but then when Jet went off to college, Sophia got really close with her brother, married her brother, and now they don't really talk, and there's just like tension, and all Sophia wants to talk about is her baby. And yeah, and Jet makes like a snide comment, like, of course she wanted to get with, did I not write their last name down? I didn't. Oh, Mason. Of course she wants to get with a Mason. Basically the Masons, which is the family Jet's a part of, is a big construction family that seems to be like basically owns everything in this town. It seems like this town is owned by them, and they basically, like, this entire event they're at right now is funded by them, and people seem to either like them if they're close with them or really hate them because they've been like, taking people's houses and turning them into mansions. So after she talks with Luke and Sophia are like, okay, we gotta head out. The baby's tired, blah, blah, blah. There's so many people that just, like, it just kept going. And even Jet makes a comment about that. She's like, wow, I keep seeing people. Apparently I'm popular today. Like, she's not having it, not happy to be around this many people. But she sees Greg Clay, Lou, and Jack Finley. So Jack Finley and Lou are police officers. Lou is the new police chief, and there's a lot of tension about that because people on the board of village trustees had to vote, and they voted for Lou, who's some new person in town, whereas Jack Finley, has lived there his entire life. So he kind of, people are like, oh, it should have been you, but no one seems to be saying who voted for the new person, tension. And Gary is one of the guys he's the chair actually of the village trustees. And Jet's mother is actually the vice chair. And she's mad that she did not get chair. We also learned that Jack Finley has lived across the street from the Masons like his entire life, and his son Billy is kind of friends with Jet a little bit, and he was looking for her. And then right after their conversation, Lou sees his wife, heads off, everyone kind of just heads off away from her. So then Jet just kind of keeps walking, and she runs into Billy because just everyone's running into her, and she's like, great, another human I have to talk to. And he's like, do I count? And she's like, yeah, you're human. Oh. And he's like, hey, I know you said you couldn't come last time, but I'm playing at the bar again, writing some of the songs I've written if you want to come watch. And she's like, no. She doesn't want to go because she doesn't want to have to laugh at him and make a scene. Like, she doesn't want to think it's bad and laugh. So she won't go watch him. So she's like, no, I'm busy. Can't, sorry. She doesn't just say no. She just says, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Maybe next time. And she keeps having this mindset of, oh, there's always time. Like, there's next time. There's like, I'll do it later kind of thing. Which then, after talking to him, oh, wait, no, while they're talking, this dude comes up to them, Andrew Smith. And he is like really, really drunk. He's dressed as a clown. And then he kind of is like, blah, 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 like hating on her, being like, your family destroys everything they touch. To Jet, like, you guys are horrible. And then Billy's like, hey, bro, you're drunk. Go home. And he's like, how dare you? So he kind of tries to fight him. But the cops were like just there. So like Billy's dad, Jack, is like right there and like breaks him up. And he's like, yeah, we know where he lives. He lives in the apartment beside Billy, actually. So the police start escorting him home. And then after that, just like, okay, gotta go find my parents. So she heads over to the booth her parents are at, who are Diane and Scott. And she's like, okay, I'm tired of this. I'm going home. And her mother's like, not happy. She's like, hey, you said you would help out, at least be useful, take these chairs back or something. And Jet's like, I never said I would do that. I'll do it later. And then her mother's like, that's like your mantra or whatever. I'll do it later or like something. And then her father's like, no, it's because she says, I'll do it tomorrow. And then her father's like, no, it's her mantra to always do it later. And she's like, yep, later's perfect. So she just seems to always be pushing things till later. And a lot of family tensions about not liking her because she's not doing things or doing what the family expects of her. Oh, that was one thing about her mother too. Billy was talking to her mother earlier, and her mother was like, who are you? Even though they've known each other since Billy was 10. So her mother seems to just be like, only cares about her and her image kind of vibe is what I'm getting. Oh, I didn't even say where we are. We're in Woodstock, Vermont. Oh, when she was talking to her brother, there's like they make like a weird comment about, he keeps insulting her about not doing anything, and she's like, I still won that district spelling bee when I was 10. And there's like this weirdness that passes between them, and it's like something else happened that day that was really bad that they're not talking about, and only Jet and Luke seem to know about it because Sophia's there too, and she doesn't, it goes right over her head, and she just continues back to conversation while she starts talking about the baby, and Jet's like, can you stop with the baby stuff? Oh yeah, so then she just goes home, and she's like on her way home, walks home, turns up College Hill Road and heads to number 10. They have a red front door. And then her dog Reggie, a English Cocker Spaniel, meets her at the door. He grabs a sock. She's like, oh, so cute. She just walks in the house, goes to the kitchen, grabs a couple of cookies that are off the counter that Sophia had made and dropped off to the house earlier. And then she sits down on her phone and scrolling through Instagram, like kind of judging and comparing herself to all these people she knew from college that are now like married or at all these fancy work events and stuff like that, or getting promotions. And then Reggie starts to whine and then starts to growl, and she feels that crack to the back of her head. Someone came up behind her, and she's like, I should be screaming. And she hears screaming, but she's like, I don't know. And then someone hits her again, and she blacks out. And that's where the written part, and then we get a police report log thing of a phone call. And this is Woodstock Police Department, Vermont, emergency call. Date 10/31/2025. Time 11:09 p.m. And this call is between dispatcher, whose name is I didn't write it down, Debbie, because everyone in this town seems to know each other. So Debbie, and this is from Billy. And he's like, there's so much blood, please send everyone, send someone, it's so bad. And they're like, okay, can you check for a pulse? And he's like, I don't know, there's just so much blood. And like multiple times it says screaming heard in background. And they're like, who's screaming? Who's else with you? And he says, no, it's just me and her. I found her. And they're like, who's screaming? And he says, the dog? So I don't know what it would say. Like, dogs don't sound like human screams. I don't know. I'm a little bit sus on that, especially because before she passes out too, she says she heard screaming. So it's just weird. Definitely something to note. And then he's like, okay, she's breathing. And he's again like, it's just so much blood. And who is this? Who are you? What's your name? And he's like, I'm Billy. And she's like, okay, can you check? And then he checks and he's like, she's dead. But then the next page says, not quite, so psych, she's probably not dead. Which I know she's not, because I looked at the first page because I'm like, I need to know. And it just says, her eyes opened, blinking, something beeped, someone gasped. She blinked, something beeped, someone gasped. Yeah, so she's awake. She's alive. So she's not quite dead yet. Pretty cool, pretty cool. So yeah, that was the intro. I don't know, it's so interesting. It was very cool. There were a lot of names, and this first chapter was just so intriguing. There was so much happening. You like felt that like energy of just chaos, and then the like calm before the storm. It was just really good. I'm excited to keep reading. There are a couple names I didn't talk about, like this David and Henry. Those were just names that were kind of mentioned. Like I want to put Debbie down as well. Just names that were kind of vaguely said in conversation that I'm not sure if will come up later. Like a lot of these names like were said and then immediately I met them. Like Jack and Gary, like their names were said earlier and then they just showed up all of a sudden. Like Jack and David seem to go golfing with Luke a lot. And then like Jack mentioned Billy and then Billy shows up. So I feel like it's going to be very small town. Everyone knows everyone vibes. So I'm excited. Okay, so it has been a day since I read this part, so we're going to see how much of it I actually remember. But we are now Sunday, November 2nd, which is 2 days. And she wakes up in the hospital, and we get her full name. Her name is actually Margaret Mason, but she likes to go by Jet. She got 2 blows to the back of her head, two to the back, 1 to the left. So it's kind of hit the part of her brain that is functions like recalling words, which I am struggling with. So apparently, I don't know. But yeah, it hit the part, so she's kind of struggling to speak a little bit, but not really. It's just more she's struggling to like pull words, but she feels kind of fine. Like it hurts and it's a lot of pain, but that's one thing we get. And we also find out, I think I might have mentioned this earlier, but I actually think I forgot. During the first chapter, we find out about her dad being sick. He has polycystic kidney disease, and she also has it. She was the unlucky one in her family to inherit it, as she says. And then we get a little bit about what happened. So the doctor comes in and is like, okay, here's your thing. You broke part of your, like everything got stitched back up together, mostly, but there's a part of your spine that broke, and it's pushing against one of the main arteries. And because she has the kidney disease, her arteries are really weak, walled. So basically, she either has 7 days to live before it breaks the artery. Normally, she could have just been fine and probably had a few years in her, but because of her arteries, she has a week to live, or she can do a surgery that has less than a 10% chance of her surviving. And like the doctor that originally did most of her surgery to fix the back of her head refused to do the surgery. And her mother is like, you need to do it, you have to, like it's the right choice, you need to, you can't. And she's like, I can't lose another daughter, which is why we get the reference of someone, well, not why, we get the reference of someone named Emily, who I'm assuming is her dead sister. So we get Emily, but she's dead, so I don't really know if she needs to be up there, but she's now up there. But yeah, so she's left alone for a bit because the doctor's like, okay, you need to make your decision, but first the detectives want to talk to you because, you know, she's alive right now, so they want to get information about what happened. Enter George. George is our detective. He is just like, hello, we have some questions for you. And she's kind of like, I don't remember what happened. I have no clue who did it. And they're like, where's your ex? Because remember how I said Henry? I was like, I don't know. He might come up. He is JJ, her ex's brother. So he did come up. He is important. So I was smart to write down. I forget why he was mentioned. I think Jet just mentions him casually, and that's why I just wrote his name, because I was like, oh, this sounds important, but it wasn't. I don't think it didn't point out anything important. I don't think. I might go back and check. But yeah, he is JJ's brother, and he says that JJ suddenly left town on Halloween night, and which was a Friday, and he hasn't come back. Like they can't get in contact with him. His brother doesn't know where he is, so sus basically. And they were together for 2 years before they broke up. And then they can't find her phone, so they ask her, what model was your phone? She had an iPhone 14. They want to know her phone because obviously whoever attacked her took her phone because it was not at the scene. They also don't have the murder weapon. But she was wearing an Apple Watch, and they have the Apple Watch. So they're like, what was your passcode? So we can get into it and get your data, because they're like, that's faster. So she gives them the password, which was 0709. I feel like it's going to be an important number. I don't know why, but mostly it was just pointed out that she's going to be dead. So that's why they made her repeat it a few times, because like she makes a joke. She's like, the trying to be murdered didn't knock the passwords out of my head. But then she's like, I'm going to be dead soon, so that's why they want it, in case I can't answer their questions anymore. So sadness is happening, but her family comes back in the room. Again, they're just pressuring her to have the surgery, and she says, no, I'm not going to have the surgery. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die later, going back to her catchphrase of I'll do it later. So she's like, I'll die later. And she's like, I'm finally going to do something with my life. I'm going to solve my own murder. And that is where I am right now. I feel like that's the setup, and now we get to see her probably, maybe, hopefully solve her own murder. I don't know. We'll see. I need to do some more reading. But yeah, that's the update for now. I have a lot to update on, and I'm going to have to read and then stick, because I don't think I'll remember all of it, because I read like 3 chapters. A lot happened. So she got out of the hospital and heads home, and she wants to see the crime scene before like the cleaners clean it up, because she wants to see if that would like jog memories. I decided to write purple for people's alibis. So she wants Jack Finley, to go in with her because she knows him. There's some sus stuff happening though, because like she's now calling him Billy's dad a lot, whereas in the first chapter she's like, oh, Mr. Finley, I used to have an issue calling him but maybe because she got hit in the head, so now she's like reverting to like her old ways of calling him Billy's dad, because she used to call him that a lot when she was younger. Okay, never mind. But I don't know. It was just weird that was pointed out. Felt a little inconsistent in like I was like, maybe that's important, but maybe not. But he was still escorting Andrew, the drunk dude, home. And he was in the car when the phone call came in to get about their house. And he said, my heart dropped when I found out. The other thing we find out is there's just more mentions of the dog screaming. And I don't know, to me, the dog screaming is still just suspicious, but I don't know, everyone just keeps saying the dog was screaming, so maybe that's just how they're choosing to describe the screams, or the barking of the dog. She was standing for the first 2 hits, and then she fell down, and they leaned over her to do the last hit to the left side of her head. Due to the angle and everything, they have to be taller than her, which she's 5'3", and then they were right-handed. Based on the blood pattern, that's kind of what they know. They kind of have a time frame of when things happened, because the doorbell cam does show Billy. He arrives at their house at 11:05 p.m. And later she watches the footage and sees, so I'll explain more when I read that part. But the dog was heard screaming by neighbors. They interviewed the neighbors to see if they heard anything, and one of the neighbors said they heard it around 10:40, and the other said around 10:55. So we know it happened between 10:40 and 11. It's kind of the ballpark we're working with. Her parents get let into the house, and they get shown around, looking to see if anything else has been stolen. Both of them say nothing is missing from the house. So they weren't there to rob them. There was no Ring camera footage of whoever entering near that time frame though. So there's a 75% chance though that the back door was unlocked, because apparently all their family uses the back door a lot for a lot of things, and a lot of them, they all forget to lock it, and they kind of just leave it open. Not open, but they leave it unlocked. Then we get some information from her Apple Watch. So the cops have her Apple Watch, and she's like, let me look at it too, I want to know. And she looks at her heart rate data, and I was curious, so I looked at mine, but you can't look at your heart rate data past on your Apple Watch, I don't think. Because mine just shows today, and I can't look at yesterday. I think I have to go on my phone if I want to see yesterday. So I don't think that's actually possible, or maybe it's a different type of watch. It did say it's an Apple Watch, though. Maybe a newer version lets you. But she sees her heart rate spiked at... It's funny because it does the whole thing, like, because she's not wearing the watch, it has no heart rate. So she's like, because she's feeling kind of like dead, she's like, and it has no heart rate. So it was just fun. The way it's playing on that she feels like she's dead is really cool. But there's a spike in her heart rate at 10:46. So it's a spike of like 100 and like something, and then it goes right down to 46. So they're like, that is when the bunk to the head, not stab, bunk to the head probably happened, because then her heart rate dropped and all that. And then she has some text messages. So she was hit over the head at 10:46. At 10:48, her phone is still connected and she's still getting messages, and she gets a text from her mom saying, home later, we have to take care of the chairs because you didn't do it, basically. Like, basically her mother said, can you take the chairs? And she said no. So now her parents are saying, we're going to be home late because you didn't help. And then she gets another text at 10:48. And at 10:48, she gets a message from JJ, her ex, that just says, sorry. And that's it. And then we also find out they broke up in June. I'm just running out of room here. This is going to be endless. We got another person's kind of alibi, and that is Billy, the guy that finds her. So he says the reason that he was there is he was walking around the fair and found his dad's wallet laying on the ground. So he was returning it to his dad because he lives across the street when he heard the dog screams. And Billy actually doesn't live with his dad anymore. He lives downtown. I think we already knew that. He lives in the apartment across from Andrew. So he was just returning his father's wallet when he heard the screams, and he goes over to the door to check out their house to see what's happening. And he breaks the door. Like, he sees, and he's like, he sees her through the window of the door, and then he breaks the door open to get to her, and then calls the ambulance and all that. Okay, this is a part that is confusing me and I find really suspicious. So she gets a text from JJ at 10:58, but her phone was last active 10:56, and it was at River Street, corner of North, which she says is 5 minutes away from her house. Which I'm like, how did she get this text if her phone was in a different location? Yeah, like, it doesn't make sense, because even she says, oh, that must have been when they turned it off. But if they turned it off at 56 and she got a text message at 58, how did it connect? But I'm not sure, because I don't have like a MacBook, but she also has a MacBook. So I'm like, because they got the messages as well. So maybe it got the message and sent it to her phone, but doesn't that go to your, I don't know. It's just weird that the Find My Phone ended at 56 and the phone was 5 minutes away from her and she still got the sorry text. Like, it doesn't make sense. I'm confused. That part is definitely a red flag. Now we just get a lot of time things. A lot of time things. But first I'm just going to put this up. It just says, it's been mentioned twice, so I thought I'd write it down. And that is Billy can't kill a bug. It was brought up in the first thing, but I was like, yeah, whatever. But now that it's been brought up again, I'm like, gotta write it down. Basically, she said Billy's the only one she can trust because he was the only one that was like happy to see her. He hugged her. He was like, I'm so sorry. He didn't know that she was going to die originally, and then he was crying, and she just said, yep, he's the only one I can trust. Can't hurt a bug. So now we get all of the time. So she's looking through the Ring camera footage of everything that happened today, so we get all the motion detected that happened that day. So first up at 10:39 p.m. So it's backwards, though. I can go backwards fully. No, I'll just go in the order I read it. So at 10:39 p.m., motion is detected, and that is her coming home. At 11:05, motion is detected, and that is Billy. 15 minutes later, the ambulance and police arrive. So basically, he goes up to the door. He's like, hey, anyone home? Talking. He's like looking. He's trying to peek. He's like, hello, because he hears the dog screaming. And then he sees her, smashes the door, and goes in. And that's what we get from that. At 8:33 p.m., 5 kids come. They're all dressed in Halloween costumes, and they are talking about the family, about how they're just buying up all the apartments and replacing them with big, fancy, expensive homes, and how they flaunt their wealth. And then they steal all the candy because there's a bowl that says take one. So they just take all the candy, and then they're like laughing, and then they go. We get one of the kids' names. His name is James. I didn't write it down, but you know what? might be important later, but I don't know. I don't want to think it's kids. They just, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe they'll come back up again. I'll hopefully remember what page it was on and can flip to it. 22 minutes before that is Jet leaving. That is Jet leaving to go help out with the fair. At 3:42 p.m., we get Jet driving home after walking her dog. And then because we're going backwards, she watches them in reverse. At 3:29, we get Sophie leaving the house with her baby. At 3:24, we get Sophie arriving at the house with no cookies. So I don't know if I brought up the cookies. She's eating the cookies that Sophie had brought to the house before she gets murdered. But here, Sophie's at the house for less than 5 minutes. Or is it 5 minutes? No, listen, yeah. Sophie's at the house for 5 minutes and she doesn't have any cookies. So it was suspicious also because that's not the first time she was at the house today. She actually arrived for the first time at the house at 2:14 p.m. with the baby and cookies. And she leaves at 2:21 with the baby. Both times she has the baby with her. And then the last thing that was on the camera for that day is the 1:59 p.m., which is when Jet left for the walk with the dog, which we know she gets back from the walk at 3:42. And then at 12 o'clock, her mom and dad are leaving, and that's when they left to go help out with the fair. And we also know that Jet, she left at, where's she? 22 minutes before 8:33 was when she left to go help out with the fair. She was supposed to go an hour and like 30 minutes before that, but she didn't care. So yeah, that is what we have now. We kind of have a general timeline. We have a bunch of people who show up at the house and when. We'll see if that's important. And now, it is now November 3rd, so it is going to be the next day. Her countdown of days to live is beginning. I think I'm going to go through this because right now it's structured as days. Like each day we're counting down and getting a little bit, so I'll update every day. So it is now November 3rd, Monday. She wakes up, her parents have set up an intervention again to try to get her to do the surgery, and she's like, no, not happening. But at breakfast, she does notice that her brother's knuckles, both of the knuckles are like scabbed over, or like scratched. And he's like, yeah, I fell yesterday, like Friday when she was hurt. Also at the breakfast, she asked Sophie where she was, like why she went to the house twice that night, because we have the door camera. And at first she's like, I didn't know. And then she's like, yeah, I have the footage. And she's like, oh, right, yeah, I left my phone there, so I had to go back and get it. She said, baby brain, can't remember anything. So that's apparently why. And then we get another person, because she's joking at the table. She's like, oh, I need everyone's alibi. Did you kill me? And Sophie and Luke say they left at 10:15. They went home and they watched TV. They watched Friends because they like Friends. So after that, she gets really upset that her parents are still trying to force her to have the surgery because they said it's the last day to have it. And she's like, no, I don't want to. So she grabs the mail from the house and she says, I'm leaving. And she runs out the door and goes to stay with Billy. We learned that her and Billy were really good friends until they were 14. That is when Jet became friends with Sophia and they didn't click. They were two different worlds kind of thing. But yeah, she's staying with Billy now. She starts opening the mail. She got 2 things of mail. She got a get well soon card from Gary. And then she got another thing that was very suspicious, and I need another piece of tape. She got a letter basically saying that she owns 30 grand and that if she doesn't start paying it, they will take her truck. Like they put her truck on loan for 30 grand. And it was taken out 2 months ago. She did not do this. She has no clue whose bank account that is and anything. So she decides to go to the police about it. She goes to the police. They say, we're going to look into it. We'll let you know. And then again, she's talking to Billy's dad, Jack. And she's like, hey, I'm going to die. You should tell me what's happening. And he's like, I don't know. Okay, I'll tell you one thing. So at the scene, they found a red hair. And she's like, okay, so DNA. And they're like, no, it was fake. It was synthetic. So it was from a wig. And because it was Halloween, everyone was wearing costumes. And she's like, oh my gosh, JJ. Because JJ, I wrote this down, he was dressed as Chucky. So he was wearing a red wig. But then she goes home and she's talking to Billy. And he's like, Andrew was wearing a red wig. He was dressed as a clown. And then she's like, are you sure? I remember his red nose, but I don't remember if he's wearing a wig. And Billy's like, no, I'm pretty sure he was wearing a wig as well. So they're like, okay, it's a Halloween costume. A lot of people could be wearing wigs, but you know what? Someone probably took photos. And if you remember, we remember someone was taking photos. And it was one of their, I think it was Gary's son Owen taking photos. So he was taking photos. So they're like, oh, we can go talk to him, get the photos, and then we can check who was wearing a red wig. So they're going to do that tomorrow. She also asked them, the cops went and looked at the place where her phone was lost, and they interviewed everywhere, but like no one seemed to know anything or saw anything weird. And the person that lived closest to the last spot her phone was turned on was an old grandma who was like, I don't know what's happening or what you want from me. So, and then she just walked around because she's like, I don't have to be afraid because I'm going to be dead anyway. So she just walked around alone at night with no phone. Terrifying. We go to the next day. I forgot how much can happen in a day, so a lot happened, and I need to leave soon, so I'm not going to have time to tape everything up. So I'm just kind of going to go through it without taping it, and then there'll be magically more stickies next time, but I have to read my things. So they go to Gary's house, and they're like, hey, we need to see your son's photos. He has 628 photos. I don't know why I wrote that down. And they look through them. I ended up writing down the kids that had come to the house. It was 3 witches, a skeleton, a werewolf, and a ghost face, and then one of their names was James. I just wrote down because they saw one of the photos of them, and I was like, ooh, maybe it could be important. I'll just note it just in case because it's brought up twice. And then we find out some more interesting things. In the photos we see Luke, and his hand is not hurt. So he lied about saying he had hurt it at work at the construction site because in the photo on Friday night, it's not hurt. Then, after seeing the photos, they also see the 2 redheads, and they're like, okay, they both had red hair, they were right. And then they go to confront Andrew Smith. They're like, we're going to go talk to him, see what the deal is. But he's like, what do you mean? I never did that. He's like, I got escorted home and then passed out because I was so drunk I don't remember it. And he texted someone at 10:29. So that's when he was home. And it's a 10-minute walk apparently away from her house where he lives. Then we get some more sus information about his daughter, Nellie, I think her name was. She used to be best friends with Emily, which is Jet's dead sister. We also get a new name, Nell, who is Lou, the new police chief's wife. And we find out that from Andrew that Jet's dad, Scott, is actually going to sell his construction company to Nell because Nell also owns a construction company. So they're just expanding and becoming one big construction company. And the reason he's doing this is because he feels bad giving it to Luke because he has 2 kids. And he's like, I don't want to give it to one because that shows favoritism. So instead he's going to sell it to them. And yeah, Jet keeps just joking like, well, he's going to have 1 kid in 5 days, so you know what, that's not a problem anymore. And honestly, Luke is looking really suspicious, especially with the hands and what we find out at the construction site. So then they're are talking more with Andrew, and he's like, yeah, I used to have my old house, it was on North Street. And then they start talking, and she's like, so then she's like, okay, we know he was wearing a red wig, he is upset about their family stealing his house, and all that's not stealing, buying his house off him, and all that kind of stuff. And she's like, okay, do you know anything about River Street? And he's like, no, but he says, yes, I used to live near there, some of the neighbors. And she's like, where? And he's like, off of North Street. And then she realizes that the whole thing when they found out about the phone, about it was River Street in the corner of North Street, they were looking at the wrong street. It was actually North Street that was the important house. And what's happening right there's a big construction build that's happening that Luke has been taking care of, and that's the one he said he hurt his hand at. So they go there, and she's talking to them. She's like, yo, what's happening? When do you guys start pouring the concrete in? And they're like, oh, we started that Saturday morning. And she's like, okay, that's suspicious. The timing is the location of the phone on the thing is right too close to the whole thing, suspicious. So she just gets she just gets a sledgehammer and just starts breaking all the concrete. And then Billy starts helping her out because Billy came with her today to help her investigate. And they keep breaking it. Luke shows up and is like, what are you doing? We called the cops. Stop. But they keep going. And then she sees a towel in the dirt under the concrete after they lift it up after breaking it. And she realizes that it is one of the hand towels. There's like a set of 3 in their kitchen, and one was missing. She didn't even notice it's the same one. She like grabs a plastic bag to like peel it. She opens it, and there is her phone and a hammer. And it is a hammer with a black handle and just a metal head. And she's like, yikes. So police come, they cordon off of the area. They basically tell her to stop investigating the case and how it's not helpful. They also tell her that like the red hair doesn't mean anything because it could have been transferred onto her because she interacted with them throughout the night. So she's upset, but she's like, I'm still going to figure this out. You can't stop me. So she asks her father to get her a list of all the people who work for the company so she can see who knew about the construction site, who knew the concrete was going in that day. And he's like, yeah, ask your brother. And then she's like, Luke, ASAP. I have 5 days, so get it to me soon. And then she goes home and does some like research into it and finds out that it only comes in a 6-piece set. And then we get a little bit, she goes, Billy actually works at the bar. He lives on top of a bar. So he goes down there and he has to perform tonight. So she goes and she watches. And of course he's singing a love song about her, but that's not important. What's important is she sees Nell, who's the wife here, at there, and she talks to her because she did not believe Andrew with the whole selling the company thing, but she confirms it and says yes, she used to have Andrew do some things at her house, like hired him to work. So she did talk to him about it, and he is realizing now that's a mistake because he seems to tell everyone about it. But yeah, so that was true. And then we find out about what happened during the spelling bee. Remember I put this here because I was like, why is everyone glancing over this? So the district spelling bee when she was 10, what happened is Jet and her parents were at the spelling bee because she made it to the finals. Luke and Emily were left home alone. Emily went in the pool. Her hair got caught in the drain and she drowned. So Jet also says, like, I was never allowed to have long hair after that. So, and she said that her mother blames her for it and said she blames 2 people. She blames Jet because she says if you hadn't made it to the finals, we would have been home and this wouldn't have happened. And she blames Billy's dad, Jack, because apparently they had passed them on the way to the spelling bee and said, hey, can you check on Luke and Emily because they try to kill each other a lot because they would fight a lot. And then he never actually went and checked on them. So a lot of blame going around. But that is the end of November 4th, and now we move on to November 5th. The 5th, I can't speak. So much has happened, so much that my brain is actually going to explode, and I'm going to see if I can remember all of it. I have little notes to help me on the way, obviously. So now we are on Wednesday, November 5th. Woo, fun times. She starts the morning at her brother's place because she's trying to get information about, I forget now because of how much has happened in this chapter. Yeah, I don't even remember. Not a clue. But she's trying to get information, and she finds out he's like trying to take care of the baby, and he's like, can you check my text messages because Sophie texted me how much Tylenol to give the baby. So she's going through the message, and she sees that the text message about the Tylenol is from the day that she got attacked, and it's at 3:06 p.m., which doesn't make sense because Sophie said she left her phone at the house, and that's why she had to go back a second time. So suspicious. And then there's also a text at 10:52 p.m. saying, call me, from Sophie, which is suspicious because that's like 6 minutes after her head got bashed in. So why is she texting her, why is Sophie texting her brother, call me? Everything suspicious. Honestly, her brother looks so suspicious, but honestly right now, Billy is looking really suspicious. There's just a feeling. He hasn't done anything, it's just a feeling. It's mostly because he keeps saying, I'm just Billy, every time he's with her going places. And he probably is trying to help her out, but I don't know, I feel sus, because there's another thing. I'll get to it eventually. But then they go, because they're like, she's trying to get a list of all the employees. That's what they were trying to do. She wanted a list of all the employees that work for the company that might have something to do with trying to kill her. But her brother keeps like saying, I'll do it later. So she's trying to get it from him. Not growing great. So they're like, you know what? I know someone else who worked there. Guess who it is? Henry, JJ's brother. So he used to work there, but apparently 7 months ago, he was drunk at work and fell off some of the construction work they were doing and shattered his kneecap and got a nail in his eye. So his eyes, he needs a lot of surgeries and he's not doing well. But yeah, so they go that, and he has a gun for some reason. They like knock on his door, and instead of being like, hi, he's like, gun to the face. And they're like, oh my God, who do you think we are? And he's like, don't worry about it. And they're like, yeah, we're worried about it. So suspicious. Why did he buy a gun? Because he said he just bought it too. So something's going on with their family. Something's going on with every family. He also has bruises all over his face and a broken lip. And then they start asking him, she's like, okay, what do you know about what you worked there? And he's like, I didn't work there. I didn't work there. I didn't work there. So he keeps saying he didn't work there. Suspicious, as everything is in these kind of books. They decide to check the footage again from the Ring camera about Sophie and why she doubled back twice to the house. And then they realize she's done this before, because she's like, okay, she's done this before when she, like, has she dropped off treats anytime? Does she always come back twice? And they check that on her mother's birthday, she came back and dropped it off twice. And then on another day, holiday, she dropped off treats and then comes back an hour later. And they realize she has a pill bottle in her pocket. And they realize that that pill bottle is the medication that Jet takes for the kidney disease. So they go back to her house to sneak in to see, oh wait, at this point, I didn't write that down, but the cops have arrested JJ for her murder, attempted murder, because Henry finds out that Jet is dying and he texts JJ, so JJ comes back to town and he immediately gets arrested. So that's a side plot, but she's like, he didn't do it, I'm gonna find out who actually did it, and they just ignore. So while his parents are talking with the police and all that kind of stuff, they were going somewhere with the police. I can't remember where now, but her parents were doing something with the police. So they're like, let's sneak back into the house and check the pill bottles. So they check her pill bottle, seems normal, but they're like, wait, like, she's not the only one that takes those pills. Her dad does as well. So they check her dad's pills. Turns out Sophie was doing something to them. She was changing out the pills, little capsules, for having salt in them instead of the medication, which salt equals death. So basically she was trying to slowly poison her father-in-law? Yeah, father-in-law, so that Luke can get the company faster. Basically, she didn't want to kill him. She just wanted to poison him enough so that he would retire. Yeah, they find out she's stealing the pills. She goes over there to confront her, and she's like, you are poisoning my father. Why are you doing that? That's how they find out. She just wants Luke to get the thing. And then she's like, I'm going to tell Luke that you're doing this. And so Sophia's like, well, if you say that, I'm going to tell, you've been hanging out with Billy a lot. I'm going to tell Billy that you're responsible for his mom leaving, because his mom left when he was like 14 or something. I don't remember exactly, but his mom just kind of left. And apparently now Jet has something to do with it. So more sus stuff. So that's why Billy's coming a little bit sus, if he knows this stuff. And also, after she confronts Sophia about it, she confronts Luke, because Luke gets home and she just gets in the car with him and it's like, hey, you should ask your wife about this. And then she's also like, also, father's not leaving the company to you. He gets really mad and just swears a lot and slams the steering wheel. So she's like, he didn't do it, his reaction. I could read him like a book. He didn't kill me, or attempt to kill me, which, I don't know. Good to know, I guess. He was looking really suspicious. There's a lot of bad stuff he's doing, but who knows? I don't know. Maybe he still did it, and he is just suspicious, and he was acting. He already knew that the company was going to not go to him unless he murdered, so he's like, oh no, must act angry because I tried to murder my sister, you know? But that's not important. Continuing on. So they decide, what did they do? She confronts him. Oh, and then they decide, you know what we're going to do? We're going to break in to the construction place to get this list, because Luke forgot to get her the list again. He's like, oh, it was a busy day, I forgot. She's like, no, I have like 3 days left to live. I need this list. So they decide to break in because she still knows all the codes, because she did work there for a little bit, but then Luke was getting mad and she was like, okay, I don't need to work here. If you're so mad, I work here. So she doesn't know the codes, and they sneak in and they start looking at stuff. And we get some information. I'll go, because I was talking about Billy's mother. We also find out that Billy's mother was a math teacher at the school. Luke has been doing tax fraud and insurance fraud because and also a different kind of fraud. I don't know, a lot of fraud, because he sold marble counter to someone saying it was a specific type that was 12 grand, but they actually bought one more 7 grand and installed that into the house. And then also he is not paying some of his employees. Like, that's why Henry is saying that he never worked there because he's not on any of the payrolls. And also there's someone named Angie Rice that Jet knew that worked there, who she literally sees her desk, which is like a few desks over, and it has her photo and everything. But her name's not on the payroll or anything. And I think I forgot to mention this, but when they're talking to Henry, he's like, we're in debt. We don't have any money. I need to pay for more surgeries or I'm going to lose my eyesight and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, what do you mean you should have insurance because you got hurt at work? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Work there. This is probably why, because he wasn't actually a real employee. He was being paid under the table. And that's one of the things that the cops have on JJ. They say that he had the bank account that put the loan out on her car. He also put a bunch of loans out on himself and was in a lot of credit card debt. So just stuff is happening. And then while they're just, going through things, the building catches on fire and they have to escape. Big dramatic escape. They make it out fine, though. Well, not fine. They're injured, but like they survive and they're fine. And then they see the lights coming. So and they say, oh, is that a drone in the sky or something? And then they see flashing lights and they're like, okay, let's go. They go home. She showers, cries about how she's going to die. And that's the end of this day. But yeah, I don't know. So Luke is just always suspicious, and so is Sophia. But Billy is also kind of on my radar now. She kind of just trusted him because he showed up, but he was the one that found her, so he could have looped back around. He also, there's some sus stuff about how she's responsible for his mother leaving, and he's really upset about this. But then, and also he's being so nice, but he's also just being like, I'm just Billy, but also really helping her out. And then the fire started, but they weren't looking together. He had gone off to look in a different part of the offices, so he could have lit the fire and then come back to her, and that's why, because when he comes back, he goes, oh, did you call me? And she's like, no. And he's like, oh, I found this. So it's like, why did you, what? I don't know. He's kind of suspicious to me, even though he's helping her out. And then also but he did write the love song about her and all that nonsense. But I don't know. I'm just getting, there's a vibe. It's a vibe. That's it. That's all for today. I need to go to bed. There's something else about his name. Oh, that wasn't that important. It was just that the insurance about buying the granite countertop was for Gary, so he got scammed. $5,000. Crazy. I'm becoming sad now. It's almost over. I'm gonna find out who did this. She's probably gonna die. It's just sadness. It's sadness. Yeah. There's so much bad stuff happening and problematic people and stuff too. Oh, one thing I wanted to update, I don't know if I said it exactly, but Henry, his fall had been thought because it was drunken. It wasn't, he didn't show up drunk to work. Some of the supports on the building broke. And the lie became that he was drunk at work so that they could get rid of him. And basically, he didn't know that, everything was illegal. He was told by Luke that he was just moving some stuff around in the business, and that would be for a short time that he would be written as not an employee, and then eventually he'd be added on as an employee. So, yeah, Luke was lying. But the reason he has all the, cuts and bruises on his face is because Halloween night, remember, Sophie's text, call me and all that nonsense, and Luke said, oh, yeah, I was totally home. He wasn't home. He was at Henry's beating up Henry, because Henry said, he doesn't have the money for his surgeries for his eyes, so he was told Luke, if you don't give me the money, I'm going to tell your father. And Luke showed up and beat him up and was like, you're not going to do that. You can't, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's why Henry bought a gun. So they go to the police station and they're told, oh, the building burnt down. And they're like, oh yeah, crazy. Who would have thought? And they do find out they did see the drone. They did see Gary's son's drone, but it didn't catch anything. It caught footage of what was happening, but it didn't see any people because the smoke was too thick. So they're okay with that. And then they're just chatting about other stuff. And then Gary mentions about some kind of cat prank that was played on the counselors months ago. So we find out about that, and they're like, oh, the mother's like, don't worry about it. It was nothing. It was just a dumb prank, whatever. But of course, Jet's suspicious. We need more information. Let's find out about it. So they find out the cat prank was actually someone saying, oh, you ruin people's lives and stuff like that, stealing their houses. And they zoom in the photo and they're like, oh, this house, you can see that because there's a window in the background of the cat person. They were wearing a filter, those filters that change you into animals. So it was wearing a cat filter, but you could still see out the window. So they realized that it is Andrew's daughter. Oh, Nina or something like that. It's her, and she's dead now, so I don't know if I've mentioned her. Yeah, daughter killed herself last year. I said that. So basically, she's the one that pulled the prank on it, and she said this message is for Diane. Pull out of the sale. You know which one. And then also said, I will tell everyone your secret. I know your secret that none of your family knows about Emily. Or like Emily knew too. Emily told me. It was the last thing she told me before she died. So now we have this. What did Emily know? All we know is that Emily knew something that she told Nina. So you know what they decide to do? They're like, how can we find out what they know? Get into their Facebook messages. Problem, Emily's been dead for 17 years, but Nina's only been dead for 11 months. So Andrew Smith, where does he spend all his time? He's Billy's next door neighbor, the place they're staying at, and he's a drunk, so he just hides. They live on top of a bar, so he just spends his entire day at the bar. So Billy goes down to distract Andrew while Jet sneaks into Andrew's house. She goes through a bunch of stuff. She ends up finding the laptop. They go back to Billy's place, unlock the laptop, go into the Facebook. The Facebook's not logged in, but the email's logged in, and there's no password on the laptop. So they reset the Facebook password, get into her Facebook, and start going through the messages. But all they find is that Emily texted saying, I overheard them talking about, they're doing it again, and I heard them talking about him. So her parents, Emily's parents, Jet's parents, there's something wrong with Luke or something issue with Luke that they were talking about. This was 17 years ago. And we don't really know what that is. She says, I'll tell you tomorrow at school, which is Thursday, and she's dead by Saturday. So there's some suspicious now about Emily's death. Also with that, we know that Diane had asked Finley to check on them because she knew that Luke and Emily fight a lot, so suspicious. And then also Finley's name comes up again because they're talking about Billy's mother. And then again, Jet is like, should I tell him about his mother? But I don't want to change what we have going on here right now because she's just having fun, living out her last few days alive. But yeah, that's it. I don't know when it's going to reveal now because I'm assuming like the amount of pages I have left, I'm on like the last-ish day. It's also, it's day 7, which she was given 7 days to live. So I don't know. I'll have to just kind of update here and there then before it reveals. Right now, I feel like Billy is sus. It's just in my gut. He's helping her too much. And also, like, I don't know who, like, there's no one else that I think has a motive to do it, right? Because, like, Henry and Luke, like, yeah, they have the motive, but really, like, and then JJ, like, everyone just keeps saying it's not him, because, like, why would he do it? What is killing? The only person that really, like, I feel like Billy has a motive and we just haven't been told it, or it was Luke, because Luke's the only one that really does have, but he didn't know. These two, Luke and Sophia, maybe, they're probably the two. It's one of these three. If it's anyone else, I'd be really surprised, because I feel like I don't know enough about anyone to be like, yes, that makes sense. They had good reason. I don't know. This is so hard. Why is it always so hard? Okay, I'm just gonna keep reading and see what else they find out. They're like talking about the day Emily died because Billy was actually, his mother is the first one that found Emily, and him and Billy, Luke, and his mother, Billy's mother, found Emily the day it happened. Basically, Billy remembers it as like he was just kind of at home and Luke came over to hang out with him and wanted to play soccer in the front yard, but he thought it was weird because Luke never wanted to play with him because Luke was like 3 years older than him, and Billy and Jet were friends, so it was just weird. And then they played together and the ball got put into the bush, so they both went to grab it, and he said he remembered that Luke had a lot of scratches on his arms and that he kind of smelled like chlorine, but he doesn't know if he actually remembers that or if his mind is just kind of playing tricks on him. But then eventually Luke wants to go home. They go with him. That's when they see Emily in the pool. And then they're like, okay, how can we figure out if this is true? And Billy they still have all of his mom's journals, even though she left. So they go look at her journals, and on that date in her journal, she had written, he was already wet. So they're suspicious. They're like, okay, wait, did Luke kill Emily?
and that was a cover-up or something. So then they leave the house, and Sophia is like hanging about outside, and she's like, you told Luke I've been drugging your father. I'm going to tell Billy what you did to his mother. So basically, Billy's mom's been like gone for like 10 years. And what had happened was Jet had guilt tripped his mother into raising her grades so she could get into the university that Emily was supposed to go to, because Jet was kind of just trying to be Emily for like most of her life to like make up for Emily being dead. So she is like, hey, my sister died and she would have wanted this, and she could be alive if you hadn't, like basically putting the blame on his mother and their family for Emily being dead. So the mother gets so upset by that she runs away, which I don't fully understand, but that's how it's described. And Billy gets really upset, he starts crying and he runs away, and then Jet's like, no, come back, and starts chasing him, and then the police are like, wee wee wee, Jet, you're under arrest for arson. So they found out that she was in the building, and now they think that she burnt it down. So she's been arrested. That honestly doesn't give us anything else. It just makes Luke look more suspicious, like he's just been murdering people this entire time. And I don't know. I don't know if Billy's reaction is just normal. I have no clue. I feel like I normally have a little bit more of a clue than this. Like, at least on the, like, I feel like the other one I did where it was just a book you read and I was trying to solve it, I was really suspicious of the right person. But this one I'm just like, I just don't trust Billy, but I don't know. I don't know if that's a good reason not to trust him. I also don't trust Luke, but there's just too much evidence against him that it's like, I guess maybe that's right. It is him because there's a lot of evidence against him and there isn't trying to like switch it out on you. Because Luke has such a good motive to want to her dead. Okay, I'm just gonna keep reading.
So we got some information, not really. Did I say she got arrested? Yeah, she got arrested. She's being let go right now. But I wanted to mention one thing. JJ walks by her and he's like, I just wanted to say sorry for the loans. Like, I tried calling you. They won't let me call you. They're taking me to the court right now and stuff like that. And she says, on the night, did you touch me? And he said, no, I didn't touch you. Why? So, I don't know. Suspicious. But like, I know Andrew was like kind of getting in a fight with them. So that would make sense on why. So maybe he did it. But so he could have. Honestly, it could be Andrew. He could just have done it because he was mad and drunk. It could have been him. It wouldn't like be a big, oh my gosh, that's so cool, crazy ending. It would be more of like, that makes sense because he was drunk and really upset. He had saw them, Billy and her were already talking with him, and he kind of got mad and got in a fight with them already. So, and it was a 10-minute walk away. So, could have been him. Could have been him. Could have been all of them. That's the problem. I will say I was not expecting that. So it turns out he did. Well, okay, I was expecting that part, but it was kind of obvious that Luke kind of killed Emily. That was kind of, there was so much evidence towards it. But yes, he did. But the secret I was not expecting. The secret is that Luke is not actually Scott's son. Like, Diane is his mother, yes, but he is not Scott's son. Someone else is his father, and I feel like it might be Andrew Smith. I feel like that, or it's one of these two. Or it's Gary. It's one of these two, because apparently his father helped him, like his father. Basically, he got mad because Emily kept saying, you're not a real Mason, the company will never go to you because, our dad's not your dad. So he got mad and just like kind of was messing with her in the pool, and then once he started, it was too late, so he kind of drowned her, and then he had help making it look like an accident is kind of what happened, because her hair was stuck in the drain and they had to cut it out to get her to float back up and to get her out of the pool, so someone had helped her make it staged. So yeah, and then Jet's like, I know you didn't kill me, Luke, but you're the reason I'm gonna be dead. So obviously it's because his father told him. He didn't know who it was till Wednesday night, though. So even back then, the person that helped him stage it, he didn't know it was his father. He didn't know till Wednesday night, which was Wednesday there, which was the night where Jet got home and told Luke about what Sophia was doing and saw him in the car. That is the night that he was told by his father, hey, I'm your father. I guess, yeah. And then he was so mad at just everything that was happening. He did burn down the building, and he did know that Jet was inside of it, but he thought that she had enough time to probably get out. So he did burn it down knowing she was inside. But yeah, so I don't know. I feel like it's one of these two. But he's drunken and he's every day seen drinking. But I'm like, what if that's a disguise? So my ideas are like he is like every day drinking, but he's not actually drunk. He's just like pretending to be a drunk, and he's actually manipulating the whole situation so that he can take over the company and get his revenge. Or it's Gary. But Gary hasn't really done much. But he was dressed as a cat, which is weird because the cat prank had been played. So he could be doing that to get under the skin. And I don't know why. I think the last one I did, I had everyone's clear motive, and then I just had to pick which motive was the one. Whereas this, I don't know. I don't think it's Henry, and I don't think it's JJ. I don't think it's Luke. I don't know. See, Billy did redeem himself. They were kind of apologizing, but he did still say something weird. He said something, he made a promise to himself, expectation for the week, as like she did, and he shouldn't have done that or something. So he's still suspicious, even though it does sound sincere and they seem to like really actually like each other, but I still don't trust him fully. But yeah, one of these two is up on the list now, main ones. Okay, wait. Okay, whoa. I had a realization. I had a thought process thing happen. So she just said, he's the reason I'm probably dead. And I don't know why, but I like just, because I don't know, he just seemed so sincere with his whole like upsetness. And he knew already that the thing was going to, so why would he tell them? I'm not even saying words. Basically, he knew that the family business was going to go to this family, not this one. So I'm wondering, and there's the whole suspicious thing about why did Lou become the chief? So what if it is this family? But then they're the family that are buying the company, so it doesn't even matter if he's getting rid of stuff. What if it's the David dude that has been mentioned once? I don't know. I'm so confused now. Because who else could be the father? Unless it's Jack. Unless it's literally the police officer and he's covering for himself. Because it's Billy's dad, and like, that would be so weird. But honestly, because he kept telling her stuff, and then also he was supposed to check on them that day. He was supposed to check on them that day with the pool, and so he was there to help, and they blame him because of that. And what if that's why? And what if his mother found out that he did actually help kill him, and that's why she left, because she was upset about that? It's always what if. I was right to feel something off, was kind of off a little bit here, but basically they're back at Billy's. Oh gosh, where did I end off? She confronts Luke. He says that, it was him and his father. I think I already said that. But they're at Billy's. She's like, oh, where's the duct tape? She goes to the closet, and there's the toolbox of the tools with the same brand name, and there's no hammer in there. So it's probably him, because he made a comment earlier in the book saying, oh, I wasn't able to get in your apartment this time because you removed the key that used to be under the doormat, because he had given it to Billy had given it to Jet. So I'm assuming it's father. Also because he kind of like, Jet just died. And she was like blaming him at first. He's like, you did it. And then she starts dying. She's like, no, I realized it wasn't you. And he's like, you did it. It was me. And he's like, shut up. I know it's not you. Shut up, basically. And he's like, I'll finish this for you. I promise, Jet. So he promises he'll solve it for her. And then we got these letters. So I'm going to read through the letters, but I knew this was coming because when she was in jail for the little bit, she wrote letters to everyone saying goodbye. So we'll read her goodbye letters, and then we'll see if we actually figure out who did it. Okay. Oh, that ending was so much. There was so much. She died. It's so sad. I feel so sad for her. And it was Jack. And it's so upsetting, because, like, there are the clues, but it's just so hard to piece them together when you're reading it. So there's just so much. And I feel like I could have got there, but everyone always says, I knew it, I could have got there, but I'm just bad at this. I'm going to get better, I swear. Hopefully, I don't know. His mother, Billy's mother, had been suspecting that Jack was having an affair with Emily, But he was actually having an affair with Diane. So they've been having an affair. They've lived across the house, like street from each other forever. So Jack is Luke's actual father. And he, during the spelling bee, he does go over and check, and he sees that Luke has killed Emily, so he helps him stage it. So the "he was already wet" written in Billy's mother's notebook was about Jack, not about Luke. So yeah, he helped him with that, and then he's just been helping him in his entire life. And then it goes back to the stupid thing that I brought up once, the vote about why, I don't actually know if I brought it up, but I thought about it, how weird it was. But it goes back to the vote. So basically, the night that it happened, Jack ended up hearing from Greg that Greg had voted for him for captain. So then he realized it's Diane that didn't vote for him and voted for this new person. And he gets really mad about that. But that's just the start of the night. Because then he gets in the fight with Andrew Smith and he helps break it up. And he escorts Andrew Smith home. As he's doing that, Andrew Smith tells Jack that Luke's not getting the company is going to Nell, and Jack gets really upset. It's like, this family is now taking everything from him, but he knows the way to solve it. If, Jed is gone, Luke gets the company. So he's like, I can't fix me being captain because he's always wanted to be captain, but he didn't get it. He can't fix that, but he can fix Luke's problem. So if he kills Jet, so he gets the key from under the mat, he goes in, grabs the hammer, leaves, goes, bangs her head. But yeah, and then he was like, I didn't realize you liked her so much and all that. And oh yeah, the mother left because, and then also Diane and him stop having an affair when Emily dies because Diane blames him for Emily dying, which makes sense. So because he did do it and he was told to watch her, and so he gets mad about that. So he's just like mad that he doesn't get anything. Everything's being taken from him. So he takes some more, and then it does end with, it goes crazy at the end. We get all the letters of her saying goodbye. Her letter to Sophia is hilarious. You got to read the book to find out what that letter is. And then it ends with Luke shooting Jack. So after the funeral. So yeah, it's a lot. It's so good, but oh my gosh, it was a lot. That ending was so intense. I love the acknowledgement too, because I flipped over to it, and then it's like, and breathe. Sorry, I know that was intense. I'm like, oh, was it intense? That was so intense. Also, like, this is just my life, but as I was reading it, my mother calls me, and then I get an email that I have an interview tomorrow, so it was just so much at once. In the middle of her dying, getting a call, and then getting an email and having to respond to that, I'm like, can we just take a breath? Oh my gosh. So, it's so much. It's so much. But yeah, it makes sense, and it's so annoying because I feel like, all these times I never really get there. But I don't know. I don't know why I felt so sus on Billy the entire time. He was just, there's something off, but I guess it was his father that was causing the something off. I did at the beginning. I feel like I was more suspicious of him at the beginning. I think that's what it did. It hid his suspicion under everything else. Because I was suspicious of him at the beginning because there was just a weird energy with the whole Billy's dad thing. So I don't know. I tried again, and I had a lot of fun, and that's what this is all about. Oh, this was just such a good story. I don't know how people write stories like these. Like, it's just so good. I love it so much. Okay. That's it. I'm just gonna end it here and try to go emotionally recover from this. Okay. That's it. That's a wrap.